We are not in a bubble. I think we're in a very growth phase of a Bitcoin, massive Bitcoin bull market. I think we are probably going to go up to about 500,000 on Bitcoin in this Trump administration, and we could get there really quickly. We could, I would estimate we're probably going to get to about 250, 300,000 next year, but we could get to 500,000 next year. I mean, it's possible, and I certainly wouldn't bet against it in the next 4 years. I think it's kind of likely.
We are currently in the growth phase of a major Bitcoin bull market, with the potential to push its price as high as $500,000 during the Trump administration. This prediction comes from Fred Krueger, a Wall Street veteran and mathematician with a PhD from Stanford. While many skeptics view Bitcoin as a bubble ready to burst, Krueger believes this is far from the truth. Instead, he argues that we are entering a significant Bitcoin bull market fueled by increasing global adoption, as more countries begin to recognize Bitcoin as a potential hedge against economic uncertainty. Krueger predicts that not only will...
I really want to talk about bubbles, because I don't think we're really in what I would consider a true bubble yet. And what is a true bubble? Well, I've seen really three major true bubbles in my life. And what I would call a true bubble is when everybody believes the new narrative. So I'm going to tell the three bubbles that I've seen. I think you'll agree that Bitcoin is not one of these bubbles. The first bubble I saw in Japan in 1990. I was doing a lot of business in Japan at that point. I was working for Greenwich Capital Markets, and earlier before that at Salomon Brothers. And I was going back and forth between New York and Tokyo a lot. And the reason I was doing it is because Japan had all the money in 1989, 1990. And everybody in Japan believed that the Empire of the Rising Sun would overtake the U.S. as the leading power. It was a crazy time. And, financial engineering, otherwise known as Zytec, had replaced what actually companies used to be doing, like making cars and watches and motorcycles and everything else. And so the entire economy had become this kind of financial engineering Ponzi scheme. But it was completely universal. Everybody believed that Japan was going to completely take over the world and that America was doomed. So that was 1990. And of course, I think it was December of 1990, basically everything came to a complete halt. And we started going very quickly in reverse. And the stock market, the Nikkei was at 40,000 and it fell all the way down to about 10,000. So it really didn't recover for about 30 years. It was just the ultimate bubble. The second big bubble, of course, was the Stockmarket.com bubble of 1999. And again, everybody in 1999, the universal consensus was the internet was the new thing. In fact, that was the title of Michael Lewis's book. Everybody got on board this idea. Everybody wanted in. And you had this phenomena of everybody leaving Wall Street to go work at .coms. It was kind of the new gold rush. So, again, very similar to Japan in 1990. It's very universal. Every single person believed in .com and the internet, and the only question was, how do I get in on this gold rush? Another 8 years later, in 2007, the exact same thing was true for real estate. Every single person you met was buying houses, remodeling them, and flipping them. Banks and brokers were offering these things called ninja loans, no income, no jobs. And this was completely illustrated by the movie The Big Short. The epicenter of this mania was Florida, but everywhere you looked, it looked like some kind of bubble. Now, if I take those three things, 1990, 1999, 2007, Do we have a similar situation today with Bitcoin? And I would say absolutely not.
Krueger isn't the only one who believes Bitcoin hasn't entered bubble territory. Jordi Visser, former CIO and president of Weiss Multi-Strategy Advisors, also argues that Bitcoin is far from a bubble, despite its price surge of over 100% for the second year in a row and its consistent stability near $100,000. Visser insists that Bitcoin is still in the early stages of growth, drawing comparisons to the internet bubble of the 1990s, but pointing out key differences. Unlike the internet bubble, Bitcoin's recent price chart doesn't show the same unchecked growth pattern. Visser acknowledges the 2020 to 2021 altcoin boom as a true bubble driven by hype, NFTs, and celebrity endorsements. However, he notes that Bitcoin's rally is following a more grounded trajectory. Additionally, Ethereum hasn't reached previous highs, and meme coins are failing, which further supports the idea that Bitcoin's growth is based on solid fundamentals. Bitcoin is also receiving significant institutional backing, with the fastest-growing ETF in history having Bitcoin exposure and many investors viewing it as a hedge against market risk. Despite this, Visser cautions that many institutions remain cautious. He believes the true indicator of a bubble will be Bitcoin's performance against major U.S. tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Historically, Bitcoin has reached major price peaks when it outperformed these companies, and Visser predicts this could happen again. Do you agree with his analysis? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's return to Fred Krueger as he provides further insight.
Wall Street certainly knows about Bitcoin. You sort of see about it on CNBC, but it's really, they basically cover it to make fun of it. The majority of people think that, it's kind of a fad, it's not here to stay. Maybe, if you're crazy, you're going to devote 1 or 2% of your money to Bitcoin, but really, smart money would be well advised to stay away from Bitcoin. So my gut feel is that we are nowhere near kind of general mania bubble level proportions. Now, do I think we're going to get there? Yeah, I do think we're going to get there. I think it's going to take probably another 5 to 10 years to get there. It could happen earlier. A lot of people thinking that we're going to have this sudden gamma squeeze upwards and stuff. But, even if they declare a Bitcoin reserve and everything else, I think there's so much skepticism around that I feel like it's going to take several years to get to real true bubble territory. So I don't think we're going to be in a bubble yet. And I think we have time to grow quite a bit before we get into a bubble. But, at some point, everybody's going to believe this new Bitcoin thesis. And it's exactly at that point when every single person believes it that we're vulnerable to some kind of disruption where everybody's suddenly going to question that belief. And that's what happened in the Japan market. All of a sudden, they're like, maybe Japan's not going to take over the world. Maybe our cross-ownership of stocks is really kind of a flawed argument for value. Maybe we're all just going to implode, and kind of that's what happened. Same thing with the .com thing. People were like, well, maybe we shouldn't be selling pet foods online. Actually, that turned out to be a good idea. It was just 20 years too early, right? But there was a lot of room for doubt, and then all of a sudden that doubt can lead kind of a reverse unwinding of all the leverage. But we're not there yet. The average Main Street and Wall Street, neither of which have really any kind of interaction with this Bitcoin thing. So we are so far away from that. I just don't think we're in a bubble. I think we're in a very growth phase of a Bitcoin, massive Bitcoin bull market. I think we are probably going to go up to about 500,000 on Bitcoin in this Trump administration, and we could get there really quickly. We could, I would estimate we're probably going to get to about 250, 300,000 next year, but we could get to 500,000 next year. I mean, it's possible, and I certainly wouldn't bet against it in the next 4 years. I think it's kind of likely. And, even then, I'm not sure I would say, depending on, kind of the hype level, I'm not sure I would say we were in a complete bubble. So I think we've got a ways to go.
Fred Krueger emphasizes that Bitcoin's current growth is not fueled by mass speculation or mania. Instead, we are witnessing a significant growth phase as Bitcoin moves toward widespread adoption and gaining institutional support. While he acknowledges that a true bubble could emerge in the next 5 to 10 years, he believes that we are still far from the unsustainable highs typically associated with a classic bubble. Bitcoin's bull market has plenty of room to grow before any signs of excessive speculation appear. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.